What's going on? Pete Moriarty here. I want to share with you three key meetings that we do inside our company or across multiple companies that basically keep everything running nice and smoothly. And so these are basically the monthly meeting that we run, the meeting that we run at the start of the week, and the meeting that we run at the end of the week every week. Now we run other meetings, we run huddles, and we run little like kind of daily check-ins. But these are the kind of like project and strategic coordination meetings. And these ones are very, very important to keep the managers and the leaders who are actually doing the work and making the end users and the frontline workers do the things, keep everybody in check. So I'm going to share these with you and give you a bit of a rundown. If you have questions about this, you can drop this down below the video and I'll do my best to answer either in the comments or in a follow-up video. Okay, so first one to get into is called the weekly. And why is my screen not being shared? That's kind of weird. Let's try that one. There we go. Okay, cool. So the first one is called the weekly, and for some reason I don't have my camera. What the fuck? That's weird. Okay, that's fine. I'm gonna let's roll without a camera. Okay, so the weekly is basically happens on Monday, and this is basically the responsibility of everybody to check in with where they're at numbers wise. So it's very focused on the numbers. We look at the weekly reporting period prior. And so we always do our weekly reporting from Monday to Sunday. And then on the Monday morning, basically you've got to have your numbers ready to rock and roll for the prior week. And that's how we really keep a pulse on the business. Now, not every single person in the company has to have their KPIs updated every single week, but the managers definitely do. They need to know their numbers for their teams. And so we're trying to measure what is the effective output of the teams. And I've got different videos on generating ideal KPIs for your teams. I'm not going to go into that on this one, but effectively this is mostly numbers based. So you can see here that the sales team are looking at number of qualified leads and sales won, but then we're going into escalations or help needed. Now, importantly, this meeting is run by the CEO, and so the CEO is helping to support any of the managers or the leaders that might need help with customer escalations or capacity, so staffing and resourcing capacity. We've then got marketing, so we go through marketing calendar, anything strategic that's happening during the week. For our projects team, it's number of open projects, it's any projects with customer escalations, it's projects nearing close off, again, capacity status for resourcing. For accounts management, we go through things like churn, we're going through numbers of escalation, so that's customers escalating to management. Again, capacity. Support, number of support tickets, so we get a bit of an idea of what the volume is. Any high priority tickets or customers. Hold on, I've got a little error here, but hopefully that's okay. We've got any high priority tickets or customers that need support. Again, capacity. And then from our HR team, which we call Empower, it's any upcoming leave that needs to be handled or managed. So you can see here, really, this is reporting to the CEO, all of the most important numbers and basically like the status of each different area of the business. And if right now you don't have dedicated, we call them pod leaders, but if you don't have dedicated divisional heads, then you may have just like a team leader from each one of your teams sit in and present this meeting. This is great practice for anyone on your team to get used to reporting by the numbers and get used to keeping on the pulse of numbers, because if someone reports an adverse KPI or an adverse number in this meeting, you can be pretty sure that the CEO is going to question that and ask them about it. And what that means is they're going to need to have an intrinsic understanding of what that number is and what that KPI is and the reason that it may be performing better or worse on a particular week. And so what that's going to do is force that person to really keep their finger on the pulse in what's happening in their team during the course of the week. So it's a great way of just like managing by the numbers, meaning that people just need to be on top of things and need to intimately understand what's happening inside the business. So that's at the start of the week. And then at the end of the week, there's a very special meeting called the retro. And the retro is basically like a summary of the week. It's wrapping up, it's winding up the week. And again, the CEO runs this and they run it with just the leaders of each different area of the business. And the retro is all about looking at what went well, what didn't go well, and then strategically planning for the upcoming week as it comes up. So what's the agenda there? Well, I already mentioned what went well, and then where do we need to improve? And that's basically each member getting the opportunity to check in and share what went well and what could potentially improve. There's a KPI report, which is, again, the formalized numbers on just how people are tracking towards their KPIs. And that tends to be more, how are you tracking towards your quarterly goals? Because here we're talking a little bit more strategy. Friday's a bit more chill. You don't have the hustle and the bustle of a Monday where you just want to get in and kind of like, attack the customer problems. Friday, you've got a bit more bandwidth to think strategically. And so we're thinking about, okay, how are we going right now compared to where we want to be towards the end of the quarter? And on a cumulative basis, on the cumulative results of our KPI versus the cumulative time between now and the end of the quarter, are we on track or are we off track? Very, very important. And do we need to make any adjustments to our strategy, or do we need to make any adjustments to our execution to make sure that we're going to hit those numbers? Okay. So update on each quarterly project. And so each manager is going to have their strategic projects for their area of the business that they're going to need to be working on for that. And then you can see here any specific business improvement topics to raise. And so that's really about, okay, is there something that's come up during the course of the quarter that needs a little bit more help or a little bit more support? Is there something that's just popped up that we need to respond to mid-quarter? And that doesn't mean spinning up a new project just because the CEO had a crazy idea and we want to do it. It's more so, okay, has something popped up that we didn't anticipate that we need to shift or respond to in some way as a team? And then how can we potentially avoid that happening in the future? And so you'll see here, can we create an automation? Can we create a dashboard? Is there something that we can solve this with a policy so that it's not going to be the same when it happens in the future? Or sometimes it's a status update on a project where we're building something and results need to be shown. So it's like, hey, we've been working on this dashboard or an automation or a project progress update, and this is a good time for the CEO to respond to that. Now, importantly, if you're a founder, director, and you're in there operationally running the business as well, which is the case for most people, I have the luxury of having a CEO running my business now, but for a very long time, I was the person who had to actually run these meetings and work with my team. It's very important that you're not getting dragged into random meetings at all times during the week. And so this retro is basically the one opportunity for your team to show you their results and get a little bit of feedback. Any other meetings that you're doing during the week would be partner meetings. They would be one-on-ones with some of your team, or they would be getting your hands dirty and actually, fixing a particular area or a particular problem in the business. Ideally, these strategic projects are here being presented on a regular basis at these retro meetings, and that means that your team will get in the habit of having consistent effort and consistent momentum every week, knowing that a retro is coming up on Friday and they'll need to have hopefully some results to show each week. So finally, we have what's called a traffic light associated with the above. So are things green, orange, or red? Now, if you're not familiar with the terminology of traffic lights, I've explained this in some of my other videos, but our traffic light system is basically what we use to know what the capacity is of our teams. And so our team will say, I'm green if I've got additional capacity, I could take on more work, or things are all going well. Amber is, things are pretty busy right now, couldn't take on any more work. And red is, we are overworked or we're completely flat out, and we potentially need some additional capacity added to the team. And so green, amber, or red is our simple traffic light system of just filtering up from the frontline workers to their managers or team leaders, and then to the executive team, exactly how we're doing capacity-wise, or how the team feels like they're doing capacity-wise. It's not always necessarily that the team are working as efficiently as they could be and they're literally out of time. Sometimes some processes need to be changed, or an improvement needs to be made in the way that people are working if they're running in the red or they think they're running in the red. But this is still good feedback to get from each one of our teams, because it means that we know which area of the business potentially needs some attention. Okay, so that one is the retro. Hopefully that all made sense. And you can see here that there's also a portion here to check in on what challenges there were with the KPI measures. Now, I want to talk about the next most important meeting. This one is called T4, and T4 is basically our all hands. It happens once a month. And we call it T4 only because it's on Thursdays at 4 p.m. You can call yours whatever you want, but it's basically our monthly all hands. And effectively, T4 is a little bit like the retro for the masses. It's one big meeting where we communicate everything that's going on for the business in the highlights to the whole company. And so the whole company comes along to T4, and sometimes we'll do a little bit of a game or a social event afterwards. We're a remote business, so everyone's dialing in from wherever they happen to be. But sometimes people do meet up in specific offices or co-working spaces to attend this. But T4 is basically how we disseminate all of our information to everyone inside the company. And so you can see here that there is an update for every different area of the business: Executive Finance, Attract, which is our marketing team; Excite, which is our sales team; Engage, which is our accounts management team; Engineering, Support; Empower, which is our HR team. And then we've got work anniversaries, which we cover. So we celebrate anyone who's reached a work anniversary milestone. We celebrate anyone who's got a birthday in the last week or the last month. And then we have our Genius of the Month nominations. Now, I'm going to take you through the actual slide deck that we use for T4 so you can see exactly what happens in that meeting, because I want to share with you visually exactly what it looks like, and you're welcome to copy the slide deck if you'd like to. I can't share the actual deck with you because it's got all of our business information in there, but you can ask your team to watch this portion of the video and recreate these slides if you would like to get a bit of an idea. But effectively here, each business area is going to be reporting on their own traffic light for their core metrics. So what that basically means is if you've got, let's say, for example, a finance team and their KPI is to keep your receivables below 1% of revenue, then if they are on track for that, they would be green. If they're slightly off track or they're at risk of being off track, they might be amber. If they're red, it means they're way off track and they're blown through the KPI and they're not going to meet it. And so those status updates let everyone know, just on an accountability basis, how each area of the business is actually going. So we've got our traffic lights, and then you can see updates on strategic projects, which is any of the projects that we've decided to do for the quarter. They are being updated on with our team and any other company-wide communication. So this is the opportunity to share any communication with the whole business when we've got everyone in one place. And of course, if anybody misses this, they've got the opportunity to watch it back. They can watch it back in double time because it's important that any company-wide announcements happen at T4 so everyone gets an opportunity to respond to them if needed, or at least listen to them. Okay, so let's jump into the actual presentation and see what it looks like. This is just basically one big slide deck which everyone has the opportunity to update in the lead up to T4. And so on that Thursday per month, you'll find that our admins and our staff and our different team members in the different teams are scrambling to get the numbers up to date in here. But T4 is basically an opportunity for different people on different teams to present to the whole company, which is pretty cool. And so it's not always the managers that are presenting. Often the teams will take turns and have a different person from their team, potentially even someone who is a frontline worker to present, gets everyone's presentation skills up, and it gives everyone an opportunity to present for their team's numbers. Let's have a look at what I've actually got included in here. We always start out with vision. And we always remind our team of, what our goals are, what our mission is, what our vision is, and where we want to go as a business. And we remind everyone, why we're here and why we're actually running this business, what we're here to do. For us, it's help small business play a bigger game. We help navigate businesses along this journey of growing their business and the different technology needs that they have across the different stages of business. And I find that's really important for us to remind our team of the mission and the vision, just for them to have a little bit of a zoom out for a moment and a bit of a sense check of why are we actually doing this? It's not just collecting that invoice. It's not just closing that ticket. It's not just selling that concierge product to that customer. We're part of a bigger ecosystem in our company, and that ecosystem is mission driven. We're about helping entrepreneurs get more freedom, and we're about helping small business owners to build better businesses and better teams. So we like to start there, and then we go into the nuts and bolts. And we start with the executive update. I'll give you an idea of what this looks like here. You can see that things are on track and they're all green, which is wonderful. This is what an individual slide would look like. And then, individual KPIs, we've got growth target, profitability, and execution is here. And then any key issues that someone wants to share, they'll just put in bullet form and then explain them and share them to the team. Now, I won't go into the finances for obvious reasons, but if I go into the marketing team here, you can see they're showing off the subscriber numbers that we've got to. Tonight, we just hit 25,000, which is pretty awesome. You can then see here, customer success team. They've got graphs which are pulled in from Google Data Studio, now called Google Looker Studio, bringing in customer satisfaction. And the team basically have free reign on how they would like to present their data and information on how they're delivering projects. You can see here that our engineering team have got a bit of an update on their sprints. The number of tasks that they're tackling. And you'll see that some of these even have leaderboards and they show individual staff members in there as well. I think this is a sales one. Yeah, so this is a customer service, leaderboard here. And having leaderboards is always a good idea because it gives your team a little bit of that kind of like, competition with each other, right? It's all friendly. We're not here to shit on anybody else if they're not doing a great job. It's more so to highlight who's doing really great and celebrate them. And anyone who needs additional support or additional coaching, pretty easily is seen and shown here for everyone to help give them additional support as it is needed. You can see here, let me see what else we've got. If we're running any special programs, our team are running a wellness program here at the moment, it looks like. So this is where, we're doing the company-wide initiatives and company-wide announcements all happening here. And then we've got, what does this look like? Oh, we've got a dress-up party. Okay, so that's something that the team have created there. So our team, because we've got a dedicated HR team, will create little themes for any of the initiatives that they're running with our teams. It just means that it's going to give the teams, I guess, something to bond to a little bit more when there's a theme and when there's a brand around the initiatives that we're running, which we like. We do a work anniversary and birthday anniversary celebration. And so what the team will usually do is collect a few comments and quotes from the rest of the company and share them with that person to celebrate them on their work anniversary, which is pretty cool. And of course, we celebrate any birthdays in the business as well. We've got some newbies that we're welcoming into the company. And we've actually got a little, because we've got a Philippines-based team, we've actually got a little tradition that we run, which is if you're a newbie to our company, the first thing that you have to do on one of your first all-hands meetings is you have to actually bring a talent and share a talent with everybody in the company, which is a little bit scary, but we kind of see that as our initiation into IT Genius. Everyone's had to do it at one point, and so we make all of the newbies do it. And then my favorite part of the meeting is the Genius of the Month nominations. And Genius of the Month is where we basically share our company values and we actually nominate another team member or who has demonstrated or displayed one of those values. Now, let me tell you, I've been bagged out about this on YouTube for doing this. People are like, oh, that sounds so corporate and so lame. Let me tell you, after you've been doing this for a few months, your team will really, really get into it. And this is one of the best team bonding things that we have done inside our business because it's an opportunity to shout out your colleagues, have them feel good about feeling shouted out in front of the whole company. It's a way of bonding people over a common set of values that you want to entrain your team into espousing. And remember, these values should be built with your team, not by you, but with your team as well. And these have been built with our team. And so our team are protective of our culture now because we have multiple people involved in the business, and those multiple people involved in the business who have displayed those values and built those values together want to protect them. And so this is a really, really nice way. You can see all of our values here of basically shouting out each person who's inside the business. And once we got kind of big enough that we had multiple different teams and multiple different managers in different teams, what we effectively did was we said, okay, well, you're not allowed to shout out someone on your team. It has to be another team. So we can have, cross-functional sharing happening and, breaking down the silos, right? Anyway, but that's a great exercise that you can do with your team. That's what kind of wraps up and puts a bookend inside T4 every time that you do that meeting every month. But please steal this. Let me know if you think there's any improvements. If you have any questions about it, drop it down in the comments down below. I'd love to answer them for you. These are the key critical meetings that we do, the weekly, the retro, and T4. Every month we make sure we do all of these, and it just keeps the business pumping along nicely. If you'd like me to make a video for you on a question that you have about running your business operations or anything to do with entrepreneurship or leadership, head along to ask.peter.tv, ask.peter.tv, and you can drop your question in there. Until next time, I'll see you soon. Cheers.